Hello, crafty friends. I'm Lean from Studio Kato, and I'm so glad you're joining me again today. As promised, today I'm sharing another card featuring some ink smishing and also featuring more products from Reverse Confetti. Reverse Confetti is actually having a blog hop today, so make sure you head on over to my blog. I will leave the link in the description below. And on my blog post, you can find the links to all the other blog posts from all the other designers to get some more inspiration. Now, to start out my card, I am working on a panel of Canson Montval 200 GSM watercolor cardstock. I am going to add quite a bit of water to this panel, so you should definitely use some specialty cardstock for that. Then onto a slick surface, I am working on a laminated sheet of white cardstock. I pressed a rainbow of ink cubes, and I am just wetting that a little bit with a spray bottle and pressing my cardstock into that. I'm going to build up the coverage and the color by doing this a couple more times, and every time I heat set in between, so the first layer is pretty much completely dry. And then to make extra sure I get some full coverage on this card panel, I work in sections for the next layers. So I first did the yellow through pink, and now I'm doing some purple through to the green. This just means I have a smaller section to worry about, and I can just make sure that it covers my entire card. I am working on a panel that is larger than I need it to be in the end, so I can cut it down later. That means I don't have to worry too much about the edges, which is always the hardest part to do when ink smishing, in my opinion. And I'm also working on a diagonal. Now, that is fun because you don't have to worry about straight lines, which is not really a problem with ink smishing anyway. But if you're working on a diagonal, make sure you always have your cardstock oriented in the right way, otherwise you're going to get some X's on your panel. Now once I heat set that and cut it down to the size I need it to be, which is a little bit smaller than a mini slimline card base, I am going to flatten this out first. So before I moved on to stamping this in my Misti, I put it underneath some blocks of paper to flatten it out so it would be easier to stamp on it. Now I'm prepping this very well with an anti-static powder bag so I don't get any stray embossing anywhere. And then I am using the Snowflake season. Isn't that what the stamp set is called? Hang on, let me look it up. Yes, it is in fact the Snowflake Season stamp set by Reverse Confetti, and I'm using a bunch of the snowflakes from that and stamping them onto this panel with the Versamark ink. Just any clear embossing ink will do. I am going to cover this entire card in snowflakes. Oh, and the sentiment I'm using is from the Retro Holiday stamp set. It's a nice large sentiment. So I am making sure to stamp it really well, and I'm stamping everything twice to get a nice impression on that watercolor cardstock. And then I can emboss this with some Wow embossing powder. This is the metallic gold sparkle embossing powder, so it is metallic gold powder with some really gorgeous gold glitter in it as well. It is so stunning in real life, and it doesn't show up on camera that well or in the pictures, but the sparkle is unreal. Then I'm filling up my card with snowflakes, but I did stamp that sentiment another time over the embossing powder, and this is heat set in between, by the way. And that just means the sentiment is slightly more raised than the snowflakes. You can't really notice the difference that much, but I like that very clean impression of the embossing powder. I'm turning my panel this way and that so I can make sure to stamp off the edges on all four edges basically. That just makes it look like the pattern continues off the card, and it just looks a lot more natural than keeping your snowflakes contained on your card panel. So this card was a whole lot of stamping and a whole lot of embossing because I heat set it every time I stamped a couple of snowflakes. but it was totally worth it in the end. The sparkle is so fun, and I really love it on that rainbow background. Now I did want to frame it a little bit, so I am just drawing on a frame with a black fine liner. I am using a fine liner that is alcohol based, so it will go over the embossing powder. To prop it up onto my card base, I am using 6 layers of thick white cardstock. I am just using leftover packaging from stamp sets. I cut it down to be slightly smaller than my panel, so I don't have to worry about gluing everything on perfectly. It just leaves a bit of a margin for error, and then I can glue that onto the back of my panel and glue that entire thing onto my mini slimline card base. This card base is 3.5 by 6.5 inches, and the card panel is 3 by 6 inches, I think. I'm pretty sure. So it leaves a 1/4 inch margin all the way around. For a matching envelope, I have amazing news. I am not using pattern paper. I am using some black cardstock and folding a mini slimline card base out of that with my We Are Memory Keepers 123 punch board, reinforcing all the score lines, and then I can also trim off one of the flaps or trim it down a little bit. That is the inside flap, and it just means that the recipient can reach the card a little bit easier. I'm gluing that together with the Barely Art Precision Craft glue, and then I can stamp another couple of snowflakes onto this card and onto this envelope as well, sorry. I'm just stamping once, don't worry, I'm not going to spend another couple hours stamping this. I'm just stamping the 3 snowflakes all at once with Versamark ink, and I'm using that same Wow metallic gold sparkle embossing powder. Now I didn't show the heat embossing or the heat setting on this project because it's really hard to show on camera, but I want you to know that I heat set everything from the back. Whenever I have embossing powder that contains glitter in it, I heat set from the back so the glitter doesn't go flying everywhere. And that's my little rainbow mini slimline Christmas card. I really love how this turned out. Again, the sparkle doesn't show up that much on camera, but it is gorgeous in real life. I highly recommend you check out this embossing powder, and I definitely recommend you check out these stamp sets I use from Reverse Confetti. This Snowflake Season stamp set is so gorgeous. There are gorgeous snowflakes in this. I really like the square one. It doesn't show up that much on my card, but it's such a fun snowflake. It would be a really gorgeous backdrop for a critter, actually, just that one large square snowflake. I hope you like it too. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video and leave your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to read them. Definitely check out the description for a list of products I used and also for a link to the blog hub for more inspiration. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you subscribe and I hope to see you next time.